Okay, time for some more illogic. Last time we went over a week 4 match against Matt and his Cincinnati Incineroar. Please go check out that video first if you have not done so already, as we went over the Teambuilder in battle in which, spoiler alert, the Bouffalant rattled off a third straight W, this one a 5-0 behind strong play from Garchomp and Wo-Chien in particular. That leaves us with a 3-1 record with a plus 15 differential, including the last 3 weeks being a 6-0 and 5-0 and a 5-0. Very convincing now that we belong at or near the top. And with Chad Seattle Steamrollers making a big oopsie in week 5, we control our own destiny now for that top seed. This time we've got Tony and his Mighty Miltanks. Timestamps are in the description. Tony previously caught us at our lowest point in draft, gifting him his only Season 8W and then us blowing a game to Steve immediately after. We righted the ship in the playoffs, and since then it's been pretty smooth sailing. Tony's got some weird team building and playing quirks that have made some games a whole lot closer than they should have been, but also those quirks have kept him from closing them out, resulting in a 0-5 start for the Miltanks. As a top team, we do need to make sure we don't slack, and we need to pick up these W's, but there are a couple of big problems on his team to that end. In terms of speed, Kilowattrel's at the top, followed by the trapping Dugtrio, Roaring Moon, which cannot Terra, Paldea and Tauros-Paldea-Blaze form, Mimikyu, Low Kicks, Rotom Wash, there's Ceruledge again after a trade with the Incineroar, Cloth, Arboliva, and Amoonguss. There are a few weird quirks on his team. A lack of hazard removal stands out, as do some common weaknesses such as Rock, which is only resisted by Dugtrio. Despite that, I think his team tends to play pretty well into those rock and ground types that would try to get those up, especially my setters and rock spammers. But let's take a better look at his squad and what to expect. Of course, he's probably liable to bring anything, so we'll just go for at least most worrisome at the top there, starting with the least. I'm barely convinced Cloth is real, what with relatively low stats and a poor typing, but I did witness it put in some work week 2. Maybe I shouldn't be so hesitant. Still, Make It Rain, Earthquake, and Liquidation for my top 3 picks, Decimate the Crab, plus plenty of other opportunities to take advantage of it means it's not something I'm exactly planning for. Low Kicks is one of my favorite mons from the new gen, but on this team against me, I'm not quite as worried, despite the dark typing for Gholdengo. Garchomp doesn't resist, but has Rough Skin and outspeeds. Azumarill outspeeds most of its arsenal and sets up on it. Slitherwing doesn't care much about it, and Oko's easily. Lycanroc should beat it most of the time there. Avalugg actually walls it pretty easily too, and my 2 fire types love that matchup. Dugtrio should be very scary. I would love to grab a late Dugtrio one of these days to scare the living daylights out of my opponents, but it's not a worry here. Gholdengo escapes, as does Talonflame. We can also destroy it if I want. Wo-Chien doesn't care. Garchomp outtrades. Azumarill and Slitherwing destroy it. Plus I have Terra options to get out of the trap, so no problems unless he plays it super well, which I haven't seen so far. Kilowattrel could be very annoying with Volt Switch spam, outspeeding my whole squad minus Talonflame, but with multiple ground types, that look pretty good here, and general bulkiness, along with a bunch of great priority moves, including Accelerock, I'm not sure it's the best bring. Then, at the end, I think one of the grass type comes, but not the other. Both Arboliva and Amoonguss get hard walled by Gholdengo, though Arboliva does have Earth Power, and burnt to a crisp by Talonflame and Arcanine. Arboliva is walled by Wo-Chien, though pretty hard, and destroyed by the bug moves on Slithering, so even though Amoonguss doesn't resist Garchomp's EQ, I think it'll be more annoying to break through, and thus the 6th mana I'm guessing would come. Ceruledge and Tauros-Paldea-Blaze are 2 very annoying fire types to deal with, especially when paired with those ground resists or immunities. Ceruledge isn't as big of a concern, but I haven't exactly faced it yet, and Arcanine has more important jobs than to full counter this like last time. With tons of options to hit some of my best mons, it's a bit of a concern. Tauros, I think, is a little tougher, with Intimidate and a complementary fire typing to wall up while hitting with higher base power stabs. That close combat looks especially fierce, plus my immunity is weak to fire, so we're limited on our Tauros answers. Similarly, Roaring Moon, by its very nature, is tough to wall, especially with so many different sets it can run. Booster Energy, Choice, Slum, plus coverage with stabs, EQ, acrobatics, very tough to deal with. We need to learn the set and handle it accordingly. Mimikyu isn't the best mon, but it is one that can sweep at a moment's notice thanks to Disguise, Sword Stance, and amazing typing, adding priority of its own, and stabs that complement each other very well against my team, and we're in for a rough time potentially. However, Rotom Wash looks to be the biggest thorn on my side this time. Grass is the only thing that hits it super effectively, and it's surprisingly tanky. And that Scarf Trick set I've seen him run looks terrible to try and deal with. Swap in Gholdengo in the trick, take about half from Hydro, or you get a Volt Switch to stare down Roaring Moon. Wo-Chien in to tank a hit? Here, have a Choice Scarf, that'll learn ya. It's tough to 2-hit KO this thing on max HP, tough to avoid neutral 2-hit KOs from Hydro Pump, and difficult to outspeed Scarf, especially with the low base power on my priority moves, its general ability to beat my KO leader, Azumarill. Obviously, it's not all doom and gloom. I heavily considered literally every single mon I've got. They all have plenty of merit in the matchup here. However, I picked out the couple of best ideas I had and built the team around there, so these mons are simply the fallout from that. Toxtricity was the only one I didn't really have in a solid team plan. The issue of being how fast his team is with how many different things Toxtricity would have to do to cover those ideas. Scarf, I can't get locked into electric. Hello, Dugtrio. Throat Spray, too slow. Terra Flying for Dougie. There goes the Rotom answer. Not enough anywhere, so on the bench it will continue to sit for now. Slitherwing goes off on a few mods with First Impression, but past that the issues are speed again, as well as the target. Aside from Roaring Moon, Slitherwing looks great against Dugtrio, Low Kicks, Arboliva. Do I care about improving my matchup against those mons? I'll answer that, not particularly, which is a shame, but I need to help my matchups against Rotom, Mimikyu, and the Fire types much more than what Slitherwing can provide. Avlog has a couple uses. It's a neat stop to Mimikyu and Roaring Moon, plus with a little speed it could be used to hit the Grass types with a Stab Ice move, but further struggles with Rotom and the Fire types, which really is unfortunate because there was a real shot for it here. These last two I'm leaving off the team are going to look real weird because of those common weaknesses I mentioned, but they're Lycanroc and Gastrodon. Those are the last two to miss the cut. Dugtrio's is only Rock resist, so why not Lycanroc? The speed isn't the issue this time, aside from Dugtrio and Roaring Moon, but the real problem is the lack of Rock weaknesses. Kilowattrel is fragile and barely counts, same with Low Kicks, and Ceruledge is the only real weakness that often wants to Terra anyways. After that, Rotom tanks a hit or has Scarf, Mimikyu always tanks a hit, Tauros has Intimidate and Close Combat after surviving a hit, the Grass types eat a hit and strike back super effectively. What happened to Lycanroc's matchup here? It's actually not that good, so I'm going to try to not fall for that trap this time. As for Gastrodon, I was so convinced it was going to come, stopping Rotom dead, plus the Fire types plus hazards for free. But let's look closely. It stops Rotom, yes, but with Storm Drain or Sticky Hold? Tony's sets don't radically change each week from what I can tell, and just last week we saw a Trick Scarf set, which is the one I'm most afraid of anyways with Wo-Chien. Swap into Hydro and get tricked? Now what's Gastro doing? Even if I guess correctly, what does Gastro do to Rotom? 20% with Sludge Bomb? As for the Fire types, Tauros threatens the 2-hit KO with CC if I'm just a little chipped, even with full physical investment, and Swords Dance Ceruledge is going to threaten a ton of damage too. There are times where Gastro can shine, but in a matchup where it doesn't actually beat these very tough mons already, this ain't it. I would like to think I'm not overly relying on the same mons every week, but I picked them at the top for a reason, which is why Gholdengo and Azu have come every week with Garchomp and all 3 wins, and they will continue to be the stars of the show. I may as well start with those 2 KO leaders who have similar sets and roles. I don't actually like Gholdengo's matchup too much, but it has a few mons it should beat or at least be able to swap into, and a couple it should straight up defeat. Basically, if he's bringing Amoonguss, this will be the hard stop to it, requiring Stomping Tantrum or maybe Foul Play to break the sub I'll be putting up in front of it. From there, Nasty Plot if he stays in, Attack if he swaps out. Real easy to make sure the stab move puts in some work, and if you can't tell how scared I am of the Rotom Wash, I've got the Terra Dragon this time to resist both of those typings. That should help in a pinch against Tauros as well, resisting Raging Bull or Flare Blitz, and give a slightly different look against Mimikyu. I don't exactly need speed for anything anyway, so we'll grab some more health to take care of those hits we may need to tank a little better. Moving along to something that may need that Terra to facilitate something spicier, it's another substitute setup mon in Azumarill, which only has Aqua Jet and Ice Spinner as attacking moves. But look what it can do. Terra Steel and something like, again, that Amoonguss, Sub Up, and Belly Drum. From there, what don't we KO? Aqua Jet picks off everything faster except Roaring Moon, who goes down to Ice Spinner, obviously. Mimikyu, who is only because of Disguise, so if we got that down, we're golden. And Rotom Wash, the bane of my team, which is still always 2-hit KO'd by Ice Spinner and often by Aqua Jet. That's it. Get Roaring Moon a little low, break the Disguise, get Rotom below half, it's Sweep City. I can afford to play a little loose with Gholdengo if I think this is possible. I could see me foregoing Terra entirely to stay in and get, say, a Shadow Ball off on Rotom Wash to bring it that low, or stay in riskily to beat the Disguise on Mimikyu while it tries to set up, and then when he thinks I don't have an Amoonguss check, bait that in and sub up. Imagine I'm in, sub up on the switch in, then Terra Steel when he tries to break the sub. That's GG for sure, as the sub would even let me get the slow Ice Spinner on Roaring Moon, or break the Disguise then KO Mimikyu. Lefties is a bit of a bait, I guess, but it means I don't have to commit to Belly Drum immediately either, as I could totally sub first, then when, say, Mimikyu comes in, I just break its Disguise and swap out, still relatively healthy. Otherwise, in the sub Belly Drum scenario, I should come out even or ahead, and maybe I want enough health to take a neutral hit from Rotom or Mimikyu, so that should do just fine. Let's move ahead to the more immediate anti-offense measures. This one I do love in Scarf Garchomp. This will outspeed his fastest mon and kill Wattrel, as well as the Scarf Rotom I'm so afraid of. Dragon Claw, since I don't want to be locked into Outrage, as Mimikyu comes into Revenge and Swords Dance. EQ is pretty spammable, aside from, of course, Arboliva setting the grassy terrain, and the Electrics, actually, funnily enough, both of them off the ground. And then we have Facade here in case of a Will-O-Wisp from Rotom, plus Stealth Rock if I bring it in early and want to get a bit cheeky. There's a shot I use this to swap into Rotom as well, depending on if I can take the Hydro Pump chip, but otherwise it's a great answer to Trick or the Volt Switch. Straightforward, but it's a neat answer to revenge, say, a Booster Energy Roaring Moon, Mimikyu with Disguise Down, Tauros or Ceruledge. Just the stabs are insane on Chomp, so I think it has a good shot to put in the work. We'll go to the two fire types next. Aside from being weak to Hydro Pump from Rotom, I think they look pretty great. Talonflame's Brave Bird looks super free. Even firing into Rotom can reveal lefties or force some sort of chip on it, and otherwise make it my best check to Tauros here. U-turn is great for breaking Disguise on Mimikyu, really like that option, or chipping off about a third off of Roaring Moon freely. And both of those would happen after burning them with Will-O-Wisp, neutering them for the rest of the battle if possible, and potentially provide more setup opportunities for those two mons that I mentioned before. Roost Up if needed. I don't see much of a need for Defog this week, and this is actually a pretty great set overall. I suspect I'll try and pivot in and out of this often if I can, though of course Rotom will still loom large. Next up, the next fire type Arcanine is just 3 attacks Morning Sun with a Shuckleberry and Terra Grass to bait in a couple of ground moves if needed. Trapped by Dugtrio, tank the hit and KO with Flare Blitz, Morning Sun when I can, or if Roaring Moon is into revenge, Terra Grass to resist and KO back with Play Rough. And if I don't Terra, Intimidate and Crunch can make me a great Ceruledge check even without Flash Fire. I did have Willow on here instead of Flare Blitz for a bit, and thought hard about Extreme Speed as well, but I like the Aqua Jet and Scarf Chomp for fast options, and figured why would I stand and burn most of these targets when I can just KO them with those big moves. Breaking this up on Mimikyu would be enough for me anyways, or rather the Disguise, and Play Rough on Roaring Moon would be an Oko no matter what anyways, so we're going to just stick with that. Finally, the live Wo-Chien set. We've got the standard Leech Seed Protect combo to still allow whatever, but past that, it's Ruination to get things in range of Azumarill, plus Leaf Storm as a one-time nuke option. I wanted to make sure I had a way to obliterate Rotom Wash, and past that, an offensive move that can do damage to anything, especially if tricked by a Choice Scarf by Rotom. Terra Dragon on this as well to retain that dual resistance of Rotom stabs, plus grass moves, but like Gholdengo, also gain that resistance to fire from Tauros and Ceruledge. I unfortunately can't shed my fairy weakness, but depending on circumstances, I may not need to. Again, I anticipate using Azu for Terra to sweep, but depending on how the game flows, I'm ready to call an audible. That's the squad. Let's head into the Week 6 match. No Rotom, no Mimikyu. Perfect! Instead are Kilowattrel and Low Kick, switching I brought Lycanroc now, which are decent mons, I suppose, but they aren't going to sweep me like Mimikyu, or Hydro Pump me like Rotom. We'll take it. What to lead with? Well, what am I anticipating? Kilowattrel makes a lot of sense as the fastest mon. Roaring Moon does too, with very few switch-ins to it. I don't have the best options to cover both, especially if I want to save Garchomp in the back. Maybe I can lead with Wo-Chien? Its main purpose was as a Rotom check, so its usefulness is much more limited now. I think we'll go with that and deal with Hurricane Kilowattrel if needed. Good luck, have fun to Tony. It is Roaring Moon. That makes 3 weeks in a row where my opponent leads with their very fast, physically offensive Dark type with Chien-Pao, Meowscarada, and Roaring Moon. I see that Booster Energy raising attack too. Maybe we just need to chip this now. Actually, if this is chipped, doesn't everything else get destroyed by Azumarill? I guess Low Kicks and Ceruledge can out-prioritize me. Didn't really think of that earlier with Tinted Lens boosting Low Kicks there. Oh, good luck saying that a few times fast. But we have a few answers to that now. For now, I just need to weaken this into Aqua Jet range, but forcing a switch would be wonderful too, considering that is the booster energy that is being used up. I should survive an Acrobatics too, ideally a U-turn as well, but it shouldn't have that with the booster energy. So let's use the move that should get us half on anything in Ruination and see what happens. Tailwind? That's an interesting use for such a strong mon. We'll grab half its health. That should set us up, again, for the Azu sweep. We positioned that correctly and the game should be won already. No reason to play around too much, though. Garchomp isn't going to revenge anymore anyways, so let's just keep laying down the law. Leech Seed will come down next. That will go into the Low Kicks. Wo-Chien sure does invite that in pretty freely, actually, doesn't it? But we broke a potential Sash at least, too, which is pretty nice. My switch-ins to this are the fire types, of course, but they're looking like they have a pretty hefty burden on them, actually. Even more useful now without the water type over there. Talonflame can't outspeed this right now thanks to Tailwind, but we've got the 4 times resist, so I'm willing to play around this for a bit. I think that should work out just fine. Instead, though, actually we get the fortunate double from him into Amoonguss. Man, I imagine I'd got an Azu there. We'd have just... no problems here. I don't want to risk anything at all, and U-turn isn't going to get meaningful chip anyways thanks to regeneration, so I think I'm just going to go straight out into Gholdengo, the easy answer. Oh, Terra Water, that is really neat actually. That's a great way to resist my fire moves and such, and actually would stop my Azu sweep pretty cold too, so good thing I didn't actually do that. Great, something else to worry about for Azu. Can't make it easy. At least we got the perfect switch on Sludge Bomb, and that means it's time to scout with Sub. I can basically guarantee chip on something for only 12.5% of my health because it's going to force a switch out and then turn break the sub. That's 2 turns lefty, so let's just do that. There goes the Tailwind, and we're going to sub up on Tauros coming in. It's of course going to break the sub, that's fine, unless I tear up, but I think we could probably save that for later. For now, I'll take the chip. Raging Bull breaks it. Shadow Ball does 70%, is insane. That is not a bulky bull, not at all, and that means this is probably even in range of Play Rough from Arcanine. That's really nice. Speaking of, let's just go into Arcanine right now. No reason to risk Goldango right now, but intimidating the Raging Bull would actually be really, really helpful here. Even better, though, we're going to get the strange Ceruledge switch in. Staying in and clicking Shadow Ball would have meant a KO there, too, probably. But literally the next best option was going to Arcanine, so which maybe should have been Talonflame or Azu, but this is obviously great, too. Ceruledge at -1 with Fire at least resisted, plus Crunch is going to do a ton. We're EV'd outspeed Rotom, so we should be outspeeding this, too. And I think Crunch is going to be doing a hefty, hefty chunk. Perfect, so long as we make sure Bitter Blade isn't recovering too much with Golden. Even better, we take Shadow Sneak, and one more Crunch will seal the deal on the first KO of the match. We've got Goldango almost full, Arcanine close to full, and on the other side, Ceruledge is down, Roaring Moon's at half, and itemless, Tauros at 30, and Amoonguss has teared into water. That's a great position to be in from what I can tell. And with Amoonguss coming in next, you already know what we're doing next. Goldango is going to come in on Rain Dance. Oh, that's actually really neat. Maybe this gets Weather Ball to hit Goldango? Otherwise, that Kilowattrel is looking like a threat in the rain. Hurricanes would smack, and if that's the case, I'm not letting that or anything else get in without some serious chip. Sub may be obvious, but I'm just going to Shadow Ball away here, I think, is going to be the best play, just to make sure I get chip on something here immediately. And make sure that even if this were to have something cheeky, we can still get away there. Like last time in his Tauros, and like last time Shadow Ball does damage. That's going to be enough to KO. That's 6-4 with Goldango back to about full. Very nice. And now, of course, the answer is going to be the low kicks, which outspeeds and hits with the super effective Dark move. Throat Chop is tough, but there's a very real possibility that there's a Bug move coming in too. I don't need to risk Wo-Chien then, and Goldango is a very... It's at least a decent Kilowattrel check. It's a flying resist, and we're gonna have to take that for now. So I don't think I can risk that, especially as an Amoonguss counter too. So I think we're just going to go back and do something that was already a little bit chipped in Arcanine. We have Intimidate, kind of resisting thanks to typing with Tinted Lens, but First Impression should only do half. Oh my goodness, that's a ton of damage. We can't even tank another one. That looks banded to me. So how to take advantage? Flare Blitz is a no with the rain and 2 resists. Morning Sun won't even recover that much in the rain either. I could definitely switch. Maybe go to Garchomp or Play Rough if I stay in. There is a chance that Low Kick stays in, and Play Rough looks like pretty good damage on either of the other couple of mons. In fact, if Roaring Moon swaps in, it'll do all of its remaining health, and actually that's what's going to happen right now. We're just going to take a quick 6-3 lead as we clicked the absolutely correct button. Good job making sure I brought Play Rough here, and good job not missing. I don't have the best switch-ins, though, to the follow-up Kilowattrel, as we already talked about, but it is at least the last turn of Rain. This is going to be a little bit risky, but Goldango isn't weak to anything he may be going for, so I think I can try it, and if I need to double out, I will. I'm going to come in with Goldango. Hope we're tanky enough. Weather Ball in almost half, but that's good enough for me. That's kind of perfect. Rain stops. Volt Switch is looking like the worst it can do now, so I'm just going to click Shadow Ball in case it does stay in. U-turn out, and in his Amoonguss. Oh, this isn't the answer you're looking for, because once we get up the next move, they sub. You already know with that Spadef drop too. And you know, Energy Ball is not going to be breaking. You know it's over. Rain Dance up. Oh no, I'm going to Shadow Ball after and setting up a little bit, because if he breaks the sub and get another one up fresh, and if he swaps out, oh, like he does here into Kilowattrel, trying to get that to work, I can at least get the KO there. And behind a sub, when the Low Kicks comes in to break the sub, you know that I can show what it really means to make it rain. Ooh, Goldango is a baller. With only Amoonguss left, it's just a matter of time. We're going to just comment over this. You already know it's kind of over here. Goldango invalidates Amoonguss pretty much entirely, and we're going to claim the 6-0 victory. GG to Tony. Goldango invalidates so many mods. Substitute is so deadly on it to ease that prediction and punish anything that cannot touch it. Don't need to chat too much here. Garchomp and Azumarill never even came out, and as is tradition, Talonflame was the one that came in and swapped back out with it doing anything. Wo-Chien was solid early. Arcanine nabbed its first 2 KOs with coverage options. Goldango, another MVP performance. We've actually got 2 of the 3 leaders of Top Johto's KO leaderboard now, with our Azumarill and Goldango next to Chad's Gengar at 10 KOs and 1 KO'd. And had Azumarill not missed week 1, we'd have Azu at 11-0 and Goldango at 10-0. Really, though, look at the crazy run we're on. In the last 4 matches, we've dropped 2 Mons, both times Garchomp. That's good for a 24-2 swing, resulting in a 4-1 record with a plus 21 differential. Playoffs are close to clinched here too, as 4 wins may be good enough on its own, at least enough to guarantee yet another 500 or better record here, thanks to that 4th win in 8 matches. Our schedule, though, is looking pretty tough to close out the season. All of the remaining matches come against teams with at least a 500 record. The first of those will be in Week 7. The Music City Mudkips, who've had an up-and-down season after winning the Beginners League just last season. We'll see you then.